Have you ever noticed how often you stand right at the door of success, and then somehow the door never quite opens? Have you ever asked yourself why you always seem to be the one who almost made it? Nearly got there. Was this close? But in the end, it slipped away. Welcome back to the channel, my friend. I am really glad you are here, because today we are going to talk about a pattern that quietly tortures so many people. On the outside, it looks like bad luck, unfair circumstances, or other people blocking you. On the inside, it is often something far more subtle and powerful, a certain way your mind is wired. A hidden mixture of fear, doubt, and karma that keeps pulling you back at the last moment. The teaching we are expanding from points straight at this uncomfortable truth. Many people are not truly unlucky. They are trapped in an inner pattern of almost that repeats again and again. A part of them wants success, freedom, and change. Another part of them is terrified of what will happen if they really cross that line. The two parts fight in silence. On the surface, it looks like something always goes wrong. In reality, there is an invisible script playing in the background, written by old experiences, old beliefs, old causes. So in this long, story-based conversation, we are going to explore why you might be always one step away, how cause and effect are playing out in your habits, and how awakening, wisdom, practice, and destiny all meet at that mysterious moment right before success. Most importantly, we will talk about how to gently but firmly break this pattern, so you can stop living as the almost person and start walking as someone who actually completes their path. If you have ever said, "I always start well and end badly," or opportunities come, but somehow they never work out for me, then this video is for you. Not to judge you, but to help you see, with kindness and clarity, what is really going on inside. Imagine someone named Michael. On paper, he is not doing badly. He is intelligent, creative, and people like him. But if you look at his life story, you notice a painful theme. In school, he often started the semester strong. He took notes, did extra reading, and his teachers praised his potential. Halfway through, his effort quietly dropped. He stayed up late scrolling, handed in assignments late, and crammed the night before exams. Result good, but never excellent. He was always the student who could have been top of the class if he tried a bit more. In his 20s, he joined a small company. He worked hard at first, impressed his boss, and was considered for promotion. Then, right around the crucial time, he started arriving late, missing deadlines, and taking sick days. The promotion went to someone else. His mind comforted him with stories the boss is unfair. Office politics. I never had a chance anyway. Deep down, it hurt. Later, he launched a side business with a friend. They had a great idea, some early customers, and good feedback. When it came time to invest real energy and money and push through the boring parts, his enthusiasm faded. He found excuses to delay important decisions. Eventually, the friend got frustrated and left. Again, Michael told himself, "We did not have enough capital. The market is bad." At home, the pattern shows up in relationships. He meets someone kind and compatible. The connection deepens. When it starts to require vulnerability and commitment, he suddenly feels suffocated. He withdraws, becomes distant, and eventually the relationship falls apart. He tells himself, she was not really the one. It was not meant to be. After years of these repeated almost-s, he starts to believe, I am just not the kind of person who truly succeeds. I am cursed to always stand at the edge and never cross. From the outside, it might look like coincidence. From the inside, if we shine the light of awareness, we see something else, cause and effect, repeating through his habits and beliefs. Let us slow down and ask the first uncomfortable question. What is really happening in the mind of someone like Michael at the moment when success is close? On the surface, You might say, he is lazy, or he lacks discipline, but that is too shallow. Laziness itself has roots. Often, beneath the surface, there is a knot of fear and belief, a voice whispering things like, if I really try my best and still fail, then I will have to admit I am not good enough. It is safer to not fully try. Then, I can blame circumstances. If I succeed, people's expectations will rise. I will have to keep up. That feels exhausting. Better to stay at a comfortable level. If I step into a bigger life, I might lose the familiar parts of my current life. Change is scary. It is safer to stay here, even if I am not fully happy. If I shine too much, someone might be jealous or try to cut me down. It is safer to be average. These thoughts might not appear clearly in words. They live as feelings, reactions, and habits. The moment when success asks you to take one more step, these inner voices pull your foot back. From the viewpoint of deep wisdom, your current life is the result of many such invisible choices. Every time you avoid that last step, you are planting and watering the karma of almost. Every time you stop just before the finish line, you build the identity of someone who never quite gets there. Over years and decades, this identity becomes heavy. It starts to feel like fate. Now, where does this pattern come from? Sometimes, it comes from early experiences. Maybe you grew up in a family where, whenever you did well, someone said, "Do not get proud," or "Do not think you are special." Success became associated with danger of arrogance, danger of attracting criticism. Maybe you once tried very hard at something you cared about and failed in a painful way. A part of you formed a vow, never again will I expose myself like that. I will keep my effort at 60 or 70%. So if things go wrong, I can say, I did not really try. Maybe you grew up watching someone in your family struggle, and you unconsciously decided that you must carry the same pattern out of loyalty. If your parents were always struggling, part of you might feel guilty at the idea of surpassing them. Success feels like betrayal. Sometimes, the patterns are even older and deeper, carried as karmic tendencies. You may have spent many lifetimes starting things and abandoning them, making big vows and then breaking them, craving results but avoiding responsibility. Those tendencies do not disappear just because you wish them away. They show up as your natural reactions now. The good news is that karma is not a prison. Karma means pattern, and patterns can be changed. But they are not changed by a single burst of motivation. They are changed by a long stream of different choices, especially in that crucial moment right before the old pattern usually plays out. To understand this more clearly, let us walk through a more detailed story. Imagine a woman named Rachel. From young, she loved creative work, writing, drawing, coming up with ideas. Teachers told her she had talent. Friends encouraged her. She dreamed of writing a book one day. But her life also had another voice, always whispering, "You'll never finish anything." In high school, she started a novel and abandoned it at chapter 3. In college, she began a blog that lasted 3 posts. After graduation, she took an online writing course and stopped halfway, telling herself it was too expensive, too time-consuming. For years, whenever she saw someone post about publishing a book or finishing a big project, she felt a mixture of admiration and bitterness. She would think, "They are lucky. They have discipline. I am just not like that." One day, after yet another abandoned project, she sobbed in the shower. "I thought I am tired of being the woman who almost did things. I am sick of this story." That frustration pushed her to seek answers beyond the usual productivity tips. She started reading about deeper spiritual teachings on habit, karma, and mind. She came across an idea that struck her like a bell. The moment you want to escape is the moment your karma is trying to maintain itself. If you run, karma wins. If you stay, even for a few breaths, you begin to rewrite destiny. She realized that the pattern of almost was not only about external circumstances. It was about that inner moment when discomfort appears. She would feel boredom, fear, or self-doubt, and immediately stop, telling herself a story like I should wait for inspiration, or I am not ready, or I do not have enough time. The teaching suggested something simple but radical: do not trust that story. Stay with the discomfort a little longer. So she made a quiet vow. It was not "I will write a masterpiece in 6 months." That kind of giant promise had failed her before. Instead, she vowed, for the next 90 days, I will write for 30 minutes every day. No matter what, I will not measure success by quality, only by showing up. The first week was easy. It felt fresh and exciting. The second week, resistance grew. Her mind said, you are tired. You had a rough day. One day off will not matter. This was the junction where she usually quit. This time, she remembered her vow. She sat down anyway. The writing was clumsy and uninspired, but she stayed for 30 minutes. Something shifted. She saw, very clearly, that the resistance was not a supernatural force. It was just a combination of thoughts, sensation, and habits. When she did not automatically obey them, they lost some power. The weeks went on. Some days, the writing felt alive. Some days, it felt dead. On both kinds of days, she kept her appointment with herself. By the end of 90 days, she had completed a rough draft of a long story. Was it perfect? No. Was it the book of her dreams? No. But for the first time in her life, she had walked across the finish line instead of stopping 3 steps before it. Her identity shifted. Instead of "I am someone who never finishes," a new thought appeared: I am someone who can keep a vow. From the viewpoint of destiny, this was huge. She had not only written a story, she had changed the shape of her own mind. Now, you might say, that is inspiring. But my life is more complicated. I have debts, family responsibilities, health issues. My almost is not just about projects. It is about the whole direction of my life. That is completely valid. The pattern of almost can show up in many areas: money, health, spiritual practice. Let us look at a few more examples, and then bring them all back to a common root. Think of someone who always almost gets out of debt. They work hard, pay off a big portion of what they owe, feel proud, and then suddenly start spending on rewards. They tell themselves, I deserve this. I have been deprived for so long. They swipe their card without much thought. Slowly, the numbers climb again. Underlying belief: I cannot really live within my means. A simple, disciplined life is too boring. I need bursts of pleasure to feel alive. Think of someone who always almost changes a health pattern. They start exercising, eat better, feel stronger, drop some weight, sleep better. People notice and praise them. Then, when emotions hit or stress rises, they fall back into old eating and sleeping habits. The gym becomes a place of guilt. Underlying belief: taking care of myself is too hard. I am someone who tries but cannot sustain. My body is against me. Think of someone who always almost commits to spiritual practice. They attend a retreat, feel moved, cry, make vows, buy books, follow inspirational pages. For a few weeks, they wake up early, meditate, chant, or journal. Then a busy period comes. They skip one day, then 2, then 10. Months pass and the cushion gathers dust. Underlying belief: I am not really the spiritual type. My life is too messy. I will take it seriously later. In all of these cases, different surfaces, same root and ingrained identity of almost, and a deep doubt about your own ability to walk through discomfort and complete the path. The original teaching reminds us of something very important: destiny and mind are linked. Your outer results are not random. They follow your inner patterns like a shadow follows a body. This does not mean that everything is your fault. It does mean that if you only look outward for explanations, You will miss the main switchboard where change is possible, your own heart-mind. Let us turn the light there more directly. What happens inside you when you are close to success? For a moment, imagine one area where you have often been almost there. Maybe it is a career leap, a personal project, a long-term habit change, or a relationship pattern. Picture yourself standing again at that familiar point, not at the beginning, not at the end, but right in the middle or near the finish. You can probably feel it in your body. There is excitement. Yes, there is also tension. A risk is in front of you. You could step forward and see what happens. You could step back into what is familiar. In that moment, your mind may generate certain recurring thoughts. What if I fail and look foolish? What if I succeed and then cannot maintain it? What if I lose people who are used to the old me? What if this is the wrong path and I regret it later? What if I am not ready? It is like standing on a cliff. Even if the actual situation is just sending an email or finishing a task, your nervous system judges it as dangerous from the perspective of deep inner work. This is exactly where your practice must enter. If you wait for fear to disappear before you act, you may wait your whole life. Your job is not to kill fear, but to learn to act wisely even while fear is present. This is where spiritual qualities like awakening, wisdom, compassion, and understanding of cause and effect are not abstract. They are tools. Awakening means you can see your own fear and doubt as objects in your mind, not as absolute truth. You can say, here is fear. Here is the thought I will fail. I do not have to obey it blindly. Wisdom means you can compare the likely outcomes. If I run away now, what will happen? I will feel temporary relief and long-term regret. If I move forward carefully, what will happen? I might fail, but I will learn. I might succeed and need to grow to match that success. Compassion means you speak to yourself kindly in that moment, instead of attacking yourself. Of course I am scared. This is new. But I have suffered enough from staying small. Let me hold my own hand and take one step. Cause and effect means you understand that whatever you choose now will plant seeds. Running plants seeds of avoidance. Facing plants seeds of courage. Practice means you do not just think about all this in theory. You test it in real situation. Destiny means that if you keep choosing the same way, you will keep arriving at the same kind of result. If you choose differently, again and again, over time your destination changes. Now, how do we actually break the almost pattern? In practical terms, let us use a 3-layer approach: seeing, shifting, and stabilizing. First, seeing. You cannot change a pattern you refuse to see. So the first step is simple but not easy. Honestly observe your own history. Where have you consistently stopped short? What were the circumstances? What were your feelings? What stories did you tell yourself afterward? Do not do this as a self-attack session. Do it as a detective. You are looking for clues. Maybe you notice that you always stop right after receiving praise. Perhaps praise triggers fear of expectation. Maybe you notice that you always stop when something boring or technically difficult appears. Perhaps you have never learned to endure boredom without escaping. Maybe you notice that you always stop when someone close to you shows discomfort with your growth. Perhaps you fear being alone or being judged. Seeing patterns with this kind of clarity already loosens their grip. You are no longer stumbling in the dark. Second, shifting. Once you see the pattern, you can prepare for it. You know where the old story usually wins. So you plan small, concrete counteractions for that exact point. If your pattern is to stop when things get boring, you might commit to 10 more minutes of focused work after boredom appears. Before taking a break, if your pattern is to stop when someone else is uncomfortable, you might practice saying, "I hear that you are worried. I still need to do this for myself," instead of immediately shrinking. If your pattern is to stop when fear of failure appears, you might practice naming it. Fear of failure is here. Then ask, what is one small action I can take despite this fear? Shifting the pattern does not require a dramatic leap. It requires small, consistent disobedience to the old script. Third, stabilizing. Even when you shift, the old pattern will not vanish overnight. Karma has momentum. You will still feel the pull to return to familiar comfort. This is where vows, community, and spiritual perspective help. Make a clear vow about one specific area. For the next 3 months, I will complete this program. I will meditate for this many minutes daily. I will not abandon this project when I hit the boring middle. Tell someone you trust about your vow. Ask them to check in with you. That accountability is not about shame. It is about support. Most importantly, bring spiritual meaning into your efforts. Understand that breaking the almost pattern is not only about getting a promotion or finishing a book. It is about transforming karma. It is about refusing to pass the same pattern of giving up onto your children, your students, the people watching you. When you see your effort as part of awakening, not just personal ambition, you have more strength. Now, there is another angle we must not ignore sometimes. Being almost is not about fear of success, but about inner conflict between your values and your goals. Maybe part of you wants a certain type of success because society praises it. But another part of you knows it will not truly bring peace or align with your values. That part quietly sabotaged your progress. For example, someone may pursue a high-paying job they secretly dislike. They perform well enough to be almost promoted, but something in them always pulls back. They miss deadlines, forget important steps, or become careless. In such cases, the solution is not to force yourself to push through every resistance. It is to examine whether your definition of success itself needs to change. Spiritual practice invites you to ask deeper questions. What do I actually want my life to feel like? Not just look like. What kind of person do I want to become? Regardless of job title or achievements, what forms of success are distractions from my real path? And which are expressions of my deepest values? Once your goals and values are more aligned, the almost pattern often weakens. It is much easier to stay the course when your heart truly agrees with your direction. Now, let us talk about something very tender: the shame of being almost. Maybe you recognize yourself in these stories and feel a tightness in your chest. You might be thinking, yes, that is me. I am the person who always gives up. I have wasted so much time. I have disappointed people who believed in me. I have disappointed myself. If that is what you are feeling, I want to say this with as much gentleness as possible: beating yourself up will not break the pattern. It will strengthen it. Shame says, you are hopeless, so why try? Compassion says, you have suffered enough. Let us try again. Differently this time. All your past almost are not proof that you are worthless. They are proof that you have been fighting invisible forces without proper understanding or tools. Now you have a little more understanding. Now you know that this pattern is not a curse from the sky, but a chain of causes you can begin to interrupt. That recognition is already a form of awakening. From here, the question is not, why am I like this? The question becomes, what is the next small, real step I can take toward becoming someone who finishes what truly matters? Maybe that step is as simple as returning to a practice you abandoned and giving it 10 minutes today. Maybe it is writing one page of the book you have delayed for years. Maybe it is apologizing to someone you hurt by your almost, and committing to show up differently. Each such step is not just an action. It is a statement to your own mind: we are changing now. As we move toward the end of this long reflection, let us tie everything back to the big themes that always accompany us here: awakening, wisdom, cause and effect, practice, and destiny. Awakening in this context means realizing that I am always almost successful is not your identity. It is a story you have been living inside. You may have repeated it for decades, but it is still a story. Stories can be rewritten. Wisdom means seeing the causes behind the story: fear, old wounds, family patterns, societal pressure, Karmic tendencies. When you see the causes, you stop blaming fate and start taking responsibility gently but firmly. Cause and effect means that each time you choose differently at the crucial point, you plant a seed for a different future. Breaking one almost in a small area today makes it easier to break a bigger almost tomorrow. Compassion means walking this path without cruelty toward yourself. You are not a machine that should have performed better. You are a human being with pain, confusion, and longing. Treat yourself as you would treat a dear friend who has struggled for a long time. Practice means you do not just think about all this while watching a video. You pick one area, one pattern, and you work with it in real life. Through boredom, fear, setbacks, and small victories. Destiny means that the accumulation of these choices will shape not only your career or projects, but the person you become and the energy you carry when you leave this world. A person who always gives up carries regret. A person who learns to stay, to finish, carries strength and trust. Now, let us make this personal and real. Take a moment, right now, to think of one, almost that still hurts you. A job you walked away from. A relationship you did not fight for. A project you abandoned. A practice you dropped. Feel the sadness, the frustration, maybe even the anger at yourself. Do not run from it. Acknowledge it. Then, quietly ask yourself, what did that experience teach me about my pattern? Where do I usually run? What was I afraid of? Then ask, what is one small way I can honor that loss by acting differently now? It does not have to be dramatic. Destiny turns on small hinges. Maybe the way you honor the past is by finally finishing something you promised yourself you would finish. Maybe it is by breaking a silent agreement in your family that people like us never succeed, and daring to live differently. Maybe it is by teaching your children, students, or younger friends not just with words, but with the example of someone who keeps walking even when scared. If you feel safe to share, I would love to hear your reflection. Have you ever noticed yourself repeating an almost pattern? What did it look like in your life? Was there ever a moment when you broke that pattern? Even in a small way. How did it feel? Your story, spoken with honesty and kindness, might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to realize they are not alone and that change is possible. If this long conversation helped you see your own pattern of almost more clearly, and gave you even a little more courage to walk through that last step next time, I invite you to support this channel. You can subscribe, click like, leave a comment, or consider becoming a member so we can keep creating deep, story-based content like this about awakening, wisdom, cause and effect, compassion, practice, and destiny. Most importantly, when this video ends, do not let this be another almost. Do not just think, that was interesting, and move on. Pick one small, concrete thing you have delayed, and do one real step toward it today. Send that email. Write that page. Sit for that meditation. Make that call. In that simple act, you are no longer just the person who almost changes. You are becoming the person who quietly, steadily, actually does.
Every person carries a certain energy. Your focus, your dreams, your purpose. Bracelet is a physical reminder of that energy. Symbol you wear daily. That pushes you to stay grounded, balanced, and aligned. If one of the bracelets caught your eye, you can order it through the link in the description. And check more powerful styles on our homepage store. Choose the one that strengthens your journey.